Hello and welcome to Sound Bites. I'm your host, Holly Whitfield, the Daily Memphian's digital director. I am here with Nuha Abuduher. She is the owner of 17 Berkshire Bakery. This week, we're going to talk about her bakery and her recent James Beard Award nomination. Very exciting. If you don't know, which I hope you do, but if you don't, Sound Bites is the Daily Memphian's weekly food, drink, and dining podcast. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11 or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, Spotify. We also put every podcast up at dailymemphian.com in our podcast section so you can find it very easily and read our little write-ups, stories that go along with it. If you are listening right now on WYXR, up next you can hear the sidebar with our Daily Memphian CEO, Eric Barnes. But let's get started with Nuha and James Beard and her bakery, which we are sitting in right now.
Yay, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to go big right off the bat. You are one of 20 bakeries nationwide to be named a semifinalist in the James Beard Foundation's annual awards for excellence in food, chefery, dining, baking. How are you? Congrats on the nomination.
Thanks. It's an incredibly humbling experience, and it's almost like somebody's got the wrong person. I don't know how this is real life. So we're just like pinching ourselves that this is where we are. It was not on our radar. So
congrats again. This is really exciting for Memphis. You started home baking a few years ago. You opened a location in Overton Square in 2018.
Yes.
Is that right? And then now, like I mentioned today, we're sitting here in Germantown in their Saddle Creek location that started as a pop-up in end of 2023 and is still going.
It's so long as they'll have us, we are happy to be here.
That's amazing. People are actively trying to get in the doors to get your delicious pastries right now as we're recording.
I know.
We're having to throw them
Well, it's
out.
a Monday. Yeah. It's the Monday effect. You always want us on Mondays. So
I want to say that Daily Memphian food writer Jennifer Chandler has a great series talking about all the different James Beard Award nominees from the Mid-South, of which you're one. And so this series on Sound Bites is going to kind of echo that and be just an interview continuing her conversation. So be sure that you check out dailymemphian.com and all of Jennifer's stories about you guys. But I wanted to go a little bit more. You talk more about your background, how you got started on baking and that story that Jennifer wrote, and also that you didn't actually nominate yourself for this award, but people can nominate themselves, which is totally fine.
And I meant to.
You meant to.
But I'm a mom to 3 kids, and the nomination closed the week of Thanksgiving, so just life happened, and I didn't get to it. And so I was really upset with myself that I did not nominate, that I didn't put my hat in the bucket. Because I've learned, if you want things there's no shame in putting your own hat in the bucket, your own name in the bucket.
Yeah.
And so I was really upset that I didn't. So it truly was not on my radar when I found out that we were semifinalists.
Do you know who nominated you?
I don't. And
Wow.
I would really love to know. I'd love to thank them. Because it's a life-changing nomination. Even if we don't win, we will forever be 17 Berkshire, James Beard semifinalists. At minimum.
Right.
So that's whoa. I'm speechless.
All right. Nominator person, whoever you are.
Yes,
I'm
please.
sure that you're the listener for Sound Bites. Let us know, or not, but we appreciate it. So what do you know as you, I don't know how much you got a chance to look into it as you're preparing to maybe throw your name in the hat, but what kind of things are they looking for? How do they judge a bakery? I'm a little more familiar with the James Beard Award, chefs and restaurants, but a bakery.
I truly don't know how we get nominated. I know that there was a vetting process. So whoever threw our name, nominated us, then they called and vetted us to other local, I think, I don't even know who it would be, but they called and just made sure that we were actually who these people said we were. And so now the next step is people will come in and almost secret shopper. 2 people will come in and just, I know it's try not to think about it too much, but they'll come in and they'll try our goods. And then I think they will then narrow us down even more. Now what happens after that is I I'm not really sure. I don't know if that's like the finalists or the winners. I know on April 2nd, something gets announced, and then there's this big party in Chicago in June. So I'm just honored to be even a part of this group.
That sounds like a much better way to judge a bakery or any dining establishment is to send in secret shoppers. I was sort of at one point imagining you like compiling like little treats and little pastries and trying to like package them in a box and like send them in so that people, and I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah. And I'm truly of the mentality that like food is subjective. Like it's, you know, what's good to me is maybe not your cup of tea. It's just, no pun intended, but like it's one of those things where, you know, food is also nostalgic. It's very emotional. It's very political. So it's hard to judge food. I'm just of that. Obviously, like I'm honored to be part of this, but I'm also like, I'm sure there are so many other great places that could qualify. So.
But now it's your turn.
I know.
Now it's your turn. I know you put in a ton of work. I mean, we kind of went through your background really quickly, and it's been years now that you've put in to try and communicate your love for food and dining and sharing that time together when you have tea or delicious treats. And here we are. So congratulations again. But let's get into the specifics of some of the things that you serve at your bakeries. I know that we have fresh pastries, we have coffee, we have tea, but sort of, was there one treat or one dish that you made that was like, okay,
yes,
this is going to be our signature, or this is at least the thing that's going to launch us?
So it was kind of by accident. It was macarons.
Okay.
I'm a nurse by trade. Like I went to the U of M Lowenberg School of Nursing, worked at Le Bonheur for a couple of years. When I had my second kid, I was at home, had some postpartum depression, and I was just baking to get out of a rut. And during that time period, macarons were huge.
Yes.
And they're notoriously hard. So I was like, I will figure this out. And so I was just making them, and then I started posting photos online. And that's kind of what got us started, because nobody was making them in Memphis.
Right.
It was us, and then people were like, hey, can you make me some for this event or whatever it is? And it took off. So macarons are definitely what we're known for.
What else do you have?
We have everything under the sun. So I always say the shop is like an infusion of Southern classics meets European pastries meets Middle Eastern flavors. Mm-hmm. So because you know, I grew up here in Memphis, but my heritage is Palestinian, and I'm obsessed with the look of of European pastries. So like an eclair, a tart, a profiterole. I love the way these look, and so we'll infuse some orange blossom in there or some rose water in there. Mm. We've recently started getting into more of the breakfast pastries, so croissants, danishes, pain au chocolat, all of that. I just love that area now because it's my newest obsession. So you can find those. You can do afternoon tea with us. That's by reservation. So whether it's you by yourself or coming in with a friend or hosting a shower, it's a beautiful setup. So you can come in and do that any day of the week. What else? We do custom cakes, wedding cakes. We do your simple things like chocolate chip cookies and brownies as well. So truly a little bit of everything. Coffee, tea as well.
Right. And so how do you source your coffee, your tea? What's that story?
So we were, right now we're using a local vendor who is Ethnos. And we just are so grateful that we have someone who's here in town and is always there for our coffee needs. It's really nice to have somebody, also a fellow female entrepreneur, to be like, hey, I need this. What do you think about this? How can I troubleshoot this? It's been really, really helpful.
That's great. You have a great social media presence. That's something that's come up in a lot of your interviews in the past, and how that's been a big part of getting the word out about bakeries and your expansion, all of that. But I did notice a recent video that you made on Instagram that made me laugh, where you tell someone that you own a bakery and they ask, oh, do you have donuts?
Always.
What's up with that?
People would walk into the shop and be like, can I get a donut? I'm like, I'm so sorry. That is like literally the one thing we don't have. Like, we have everything else under the sun.
It's like a different thing.
It is, but it's also that in breads. So anytime I mention it, they're like, oh, do you sell breads? And I'm like, no. I'm so sorry. We sell cupcakes. If you want cupcakes, macarons, the sweet side of bakery is what we can give you.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess people, when they bake, their first foray into baking is breads, maybe. But I would never think of it I don't know. Donuts are great. No shame on donuts. I just don't think of a donut as a bakery.
Right.
They're their own thing.
They're their own thing.
Yeah.
It's their own category.
It's like you're getting donuts. It's its own category. It's not a baked good. Honestly, it actually isn't baked. It's fried.
Right.
So,
it's literally not a baked good.
But it happens all the time.
I'm going to venture my hypothesis on this. I think it's because Memphis historically has not had bakeries, bread, nor really pastries in the way.
You've got like a small niche of people. Yes. It's not a big one.
There's like La Baguette.
Yeah.
And they're doing all the above.
They are.
They don't
There's
do donuts,
Muddy's,
but everything else.
We love Muddy's. But bread, I guess there's not really a bread bakery.
Yeah, there hasn't been for a long time, but there's a couple people that have gotten into it. Ginger's Bread is a really great one that does like bread for sourdough, and there's a couple of other folks as well. Blanchard's, that's the one. There's one, Blanchard's.
There's a lot of...
And Hive. Well, yes, Hive.
Oh, yes, Hive. I've been meaning to go there. And a bunch of micro people at the farmers markets, for sure.
Absolutely. So, but when I think bakery in this way, and when I see your spaces, the like exterior of them, I know what I'm getting. So I just wanted to go into that video that I noticed. If you're an Instagrammer or somebody who uses social media, definitely follow 17 Berkshire on there.
Oh, we'd love that.
Another thing that I saw on your Instagram that we actually talked about in last week's podcast, we were just kind of, I was chatting with Eric Barnes, Daily Memphian CEO, about like different great things we'd eaten recently and food travel and all kinds of things. And something I was gifted for Christmas was a couple of bars of this TikTok chocolate.
So the Dubai Knappe, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, and so I got a bar of like the chocolate with the pistachio and the something inside, and I got one that was like white chocolate and like, what's the shortbread that you get on airplanes?
The Biscoff?
Yes, and it was that, and like I liked both of them, but I noticed that you had worked on a recipe for the Dubai chocolate, but what should we really call it?
Okay, so I don't even know. I feel like I keep balancing between Dubai chocolate and Dubai Knappe, but here's the thing. The city that my husband is from is known for Knappe, and Knappe is not a chocolate. Knappe is like the kataifi with cheese and syrup, and it's served warm. It's almost like, think of how you would serve a warm pie. Like, it's toasted, it's cheesy, it's syrupy, it's a dessert. So seeing this, people were always like, hey, can you make a version? Like, for months, people have been asking for it. And I was like, I don't really know, because this feels like a cop-out. It's not the real thing. And then I was talking to my sister, and she was saying, like, you could just turn it into, like, your own form of it. And so that's kind of how we made the Dubai Knappe entremet. So ours is the toasted kataifi. It has pistachio butter. It has a layer of chocolate ganache on top of a chocolate cake and glazed in chocolate. And then it gets gold leaf. It's very over the top. And so far, it's been well received.
So it's still available?
It's still available. It sells out very quickly. We can't keep up, which is a huge blessing. But it's also like, I would love to have this where people who are coming in later in the day could also get it. But if you ever want it, just call the shop and we can try and set one aside for you. But it's decadent. It's a good pairing of nutty and chocolatey. Yeah.
So it's not like straight, like sugary sweet, or in the way that like a cupcake would be, for example,
really
right?
try and avoid sugary sweet where it coats the back of your throat. Some things, obviously, a cupcake is frosting. Like, it's 50% frosting. That is what it's going to do. Also, nobody told you to eat all the frosting. Here's my thing with that. You can take it off. A lot of it is for decor, like cakes when they have a bunch of buttercream on them. A lot of that is just for the physical appearance of it. Don't eat it. Just eat the cake part of it and eat the filling. I am there to tell you, like, we want it to look beautiful. But my goal is for sweets to be enjoyable and not cloyingly sweet where it's coating the back of your throat and you're like, I think I have diabetes now.
Right. Yeah, totally get that. Very much. But that, making that chocolate, or your version of that Dubai chocolate, is one of the things that you do. It seems like you pick up on these trends. Yeah. You have your staple items. Yes. And then you pick up on these trends, whether it's like a decor, like there was a Taylor Swift moment. Yeah. With like Taylor Swift decorated treats, or other ones. What are some of the other trends that you have done or that you're doing?
Yeah. So the Dubai Knappe is probably the latest one. We did a Kauai inspired weekend. So I don't know if you're familiar. I feel like everyone is familiar with Kauai, but you don't realize it. It's those cute little emojis that are like the cute teddy bears with the heart eyes kawaii is Japanese for cute. So think of your Hello Kitty, think of your Totoro, think of all of that. And I grew up with Sailor Moon. My kids are into this. It's having a moment. And I was like, guys, I keep seeing these bakeries, Asian bakeries on my Instagram. And I'm like, I just want to visit one. And if I can't visit one, I can create it myself. And so we did it last weekend, and it was so much fun because it's a little bit outside of our norm. But playing off of all of the trendy stuff can be hard because you want to stay true to who we are.
Right.
So however we can incorporate it in a way that's 17 Berkshire aesthetic, we will. So almond croissant cookies.
Yes.
I'm not on TikTok, but apparently these were huge on TikTok.
Sure.
So we created our own version of those.
I think it allows people who maybe wouldn't come out to get some of your signature items to get the buzz, right? You're kind of like having a little bit the best of both worlds. And I admire that approach. It's a hard approach though.
Thank you.
It's difficult.
Well, are you chasing the money or are you staying true and loyal to your brand? And it's a balance. Right. Obviously there are trends and they're trendy for a reason. But how can we use them to stay true to who we are and develop our brand?
That's one of the things we've been talking about a lot on Soundbites podcast in 2025 so far with different restaurateurs and business owners in Memphis. It's like trying to find that balance of you want to be successful in a really challenging, competitive business, dining marketplace, for lack of a better word, in Memphis. But you also understand the value of getting people's attention initially. And so I come in because I want to try, your kawaii cookie, and that is a great time. So then I come in, I bring my mom for tea, and then and my friend, I tell her, and then she has her shower. And so that's just how business works. But I think sometimes people get really stuck on sticking with they're only in their lane, their signature stuff, their traditional stuff, don't change anything ever, or the other way, going too trendy and they're they don't even know what they're doing.
Right,
so
right.
I've seen that a lot. And I was calculating how many years I've been covering the Memphis restaurant industry. I'm like, wow, I'm old.
No.
But that's fine. Because being old is not bad. But I'm off on a tangent now. I want to go into your beautiful spaces that you have.
Thank you.
So we're sitting in. We're next to Lush.
Yes, we're between Lush and Sephora in Saddle Creek.
What a place to be!
I know, it is nice. The mentality here is a little bit different than in Midtown because here you're kind of out and about. It's like you're treating yourself. In Midtown, it's you're meeting groups. You're gathering. So it's two different vibes. So it's been a lot of fun to be out here. Also noticing generationally, we'll get people who are out with generations of family members. We're in Midtown, it's more almost transplants is what it feels like.
Sure.
So it's been neat to see the cultures differ slightly.
Tell me more about the differences between the locations.
Yeah, so Midtown is true to who we are. You walk in and you get the full 17 Berkshire aesthetic. You've got your cold kiss, you've got your macarons. It's where we do all of our baking. You can hear cackling with laughter in the background, people in the kitchen. You've got the front. It's a beautiful white aesthetic. In Saddle,
white marble, white walls.
Exactly. The walls are, gosh, what is that word? It has moldings all over the walls. It was very much a place that it was similar to my house. My old house, my husband's a contractor, so I was able to get him to do all this stuff. And I really wanted something that was aesthetically pleasing for people to walk into. Because you want to treat them to a space where they feel uplifted when they walk in, kind of even if you're getting a $2.80 macaron, you feel like you really treated yourself to a luxurious experience. And that was my goal with that. Coming into this pop-up, it was supposed to be a 4-month stint. And so my husband was like, no, the walls are pink and I know it's not your vibe, but also you don't necessarily have to change that. Focus on the other things. And so we left the pink walls and we kind of we really tried to lean into the cottagey aspect of it. So you can see we've got this cute little bench that's got the flowers and it's a great photo op. And it does lend a little bit more cottage than maybe Parisian in Midtown. So, and again, it was supposed to be a pop-up. So things are slightly different here.
Yeah, but it's probably fun to have that variety.
It is fun. And it was fun to get creative. This bench right here was actually leftovers from a shop in Saddle Creek. So it's I would never have found this elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, how sustainable of you.
I really try to be. I think that's what sustainability is, just upcycling.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the tea service, the afternoon tea. So is it like, I haven't had the chance to do it yet
we'd love to
with you guys. Yeah, it'd be really fun. I have had tea at the Peabody at Chez Philippe, and I've had it at the Boston Public Library, which is very similar to the Peabody.
Okay.
Where you get like 3 tiers.
Yes.
And you have scones, and then you have like sweet treats, and then you have this is what I'm into, the savory little sandwiches where you have like a smoked salmon situation, a chicken salad, and what is it, like cucumber on watercress bread. You know, you feel real fancy, your pinky starts flying up. Like, tell me about how you do it or 17 Berkshire.
Yeah, so again, I felt like there was a need for something that was like an everyday tea. And so ours is very similar to that, where you've got your tea sandwiches, you've got your scones with your side of like honey butter, and then you got your petty pastries on top, so you're smaller. Afternoon tea is not supposed to be heavy. It's supposed to be a very light lunch. It's almost like a pre-lunch lunch, or something to get you just a little light meal to get you through the day.
Yeah, through the afternoon.
Yeah, through the afternoon. And so with us, you're going to get your turkey sandwich. You've got our play on cucumber sandwich, because a cucumber sandwich is a classic, but I did it with a Lebanese bread, which is something that I grew up eating. It's like it's every kid's staple growing up. So it's like Lebanese with mint, and we put it on rye, and it's cucumber, and it is everyone's favorite sandwich.
That sounds great.
It's delicious. And then you've got your scones. Everything is made in-house. So scones, honey butter. You always get a macaron, a tart, maybe a cupcake. Kind of depends on what our pastry is. We try and introduce that in hopes that you really like it. And then you want the bigger version of it. And then you get a pot of tea. Kids can get hot chocolate. It's by reservation, but it is available daily. And we also have it now in Germantown. So it's at both locations.
Oh, great. That is super exciting. I hope that the secret shoppers for the James Beard Award get some tea.
Gosh, we hope so.
Okay, so I have a couple of I'm not going to say rapid fire, but seemingly random questions. One of them, there's a lot of great bakeries in Memphis now. I mentioned a couple of bread ones, but there's so many great sweet bakeries. Tasty treats. Are you guys all friends?
I can honestly say yes. Yeah, I am friends with a lot of them. Kat Gordon, we will hang out from time to time. In my DMs, I've got different bakeries that will, send each other things or kind of respond to each other's stories. I try and kind of mute the local ones, because I feel like almost by osmosis, you start to copy and mimic the people that you surround yourself with.
Sure.
And I would never want to unintentionally copy someone else's hard work. So, especially the ones in Memphis, I try and limit my exposure to them on social media. But are we friends? Yes, we actually are. And they're all really great women that I adore.
That's great. Not good for a reality show, but really good to hear.
I guess it depends. Isn't the Great British Bake Off a bunch of really nice people who are supportive?
That's a really good point. I don't actually watch that show.
I don't either.
But I should.
Well, everyone says that they're all very nice and it's very wholesome, and I want more wholesome.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong. You know what? If anyone's listening that has the power to do that.
Yeah.
The Great Memphis Bake Off.
That would be so fun. That would be so fun.
All the judges can be all of our great bakers and bakery owners, and I will not be a contestant, but maybe producer Natalie Van Gundy will be. You never know. Okay. You may have touched on this already, but I'm always interested in what pastry or menu item or anything that you've done that you were kind of I don't know if we should do this, but you did it and it was very successful. What has surprised you in its popularity?
Most recently, the Dubai Knafe, because I pushed back on that for truly months. I wish I did this sooner.
If you heard that pause, it was someone trying to break down the door to get the chocolate.
We love you. Thank you for doing that.
Come back on Tuesday.
Yes, come back tomorrow.
Okay. I also wanted to talk to you about Memphis food and Memphis in general. Do you have a favorite place to eat in Memphis or a favorite Memphis meal? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
yeah. So again, I've got 3 kids, and it's kind of we are not doing fine dining.
Sure.
We hit Gus's up a lot. Love some Gus's fried chicken, and then we hit up a lot of the Middle Eastern restaurants. So like Queen of Sheba is one we go to a lot. There's Tanur, there's Alibaba,
I'm writing these down.
Please do. I feel like a lot of people don't know about these places, but if they're good within the community, then you know that they're good.
That's kind of my thing. I'm like, what is like, where should I be going more often?
Yes, and then we go to like Levy Creamery a lot. We go to Sugar Ghost a lot. We've been to Snowa a lot recently, and that's been really good.
Do you have a favorite meal to cook or to eat at home? I know you're probably like, you come home sometimes and you're like, no, I'm not touching an oven.
No,
or is it the other way around?
Okay. One of my non-negotiables is if I'm going to own this business, it cannot come at the expense of my family. And so home cooked dinners are mandatory. We very rarely eat out. So I'm always cooking something, and it's almost always a Palestinian dish of sorts. So whether it's a matlube, I don't know if you're familiar with that, like an upside down, it's like chicken and fried eggplant or fried cauliflower and carrots and rice, or some sort of a stew or a soup or something. There's lots of rice, lots of bread, lots of carbs. So
sounds perfect.
Yes, I know. It's great, but we got to balance it out. So some fattoush or tabbouleh or something. But yeah, I love home cooking.
All right. Well, eagerly await your cookbook of those dishes.
I'd love that.
As well. That sounds all delicious. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to give a little recap. We were talking today with Nuha Abuduher about her bakery, 17 Berkshire, with locations in Overton Square and in Saddle Creek in Germantown. Her and her team have been nominated as one of the 20 semifinalists for Outstanding Bakery for the James Beard Award nominations. We'll find out more about how those awards progress this spring. But this has been really fun. Thank you so much. That is just about all the time we have. If you're listening to Sound Bites now on WYXR, thank you so much. Be sure to tune in next week or every Thursday at 11 a.m. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. You can listen at dailymemphian.com. We have it's essentially show notes, but we publish them on dailymemphian.com, where you can click on links and get a little more information. Or if I forget the word I'm looking for in the middle of the interview, I sometimes put it in the story. So thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to y'all next time.